And then there is the avoidance. I am somewhat uncomfortable with being close to others. I equate intimacy and closeness with a loss of independence. I find it difficult to trust others completely and struggle to allow myself to depend on them. So you remember the interdependence, the couple going along side by side? An avoidant can be a little bit distant. I'm nervous when anyone gets too close, and love partners often want me to be more intimate than I feel comfortable being. I will work hard to minimize closeness. And so an avoidant attachment, keep love at arm's length. High proportion of the population again, 20% anxious, 25% avoidant. So you'll see from secure, anxious, and avoidant, we're up to 95% of the population. So they keep the distance, even with someone they love. Repress rather than express emotions. Don't make dramas out of things. Quite cold, perhaps, and withdrawn. Vulnerable to threats to separation and security, but work to deactivate their attachment system to gain distance. So again, there's a threat to their relationship. There's a threat to their being together. But because they're avoidant, they will try and deactivate that survival. Oh, okay. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not bothered. They really are bothered, but they work hard to deactivate that system. And they will have strategies to squelch intimacy. Deactivating strategies. They work to squelch intimacy. Differences between how we operate because of our attachment styles. You know, the secure and the secure. I don't like the word operate, actually. I've just realized as I've written that. What causes disconnection between us? Differences between how we live our lives is probably better. Differences between how we live our lives because of our attachment styles. Well, secure and secure, you would hope that that's pretty healthy. That's how we would like to be. Insecure, anxious, and insecure, anxious. Two anxious people living together. That ladder is going to be quite narrow. They're going to be quite close to one another, quite in each other's face, making sure everything's okay. That makes for an unstable ladder. If it's too close, it's going to fall over. So, by definition, avoidant and avoidant will be quite wide. So it will be quite a stable ladder, but that's not very close, not very intimate. The one that I see more than anything in the therapy room is someone who's anxious, who's got an anxious attachment style, and someone who's got an avoidant attachment style. That is most commonly what I see in the room. Now, do you see that there will be disconnect, and different attachment styles will fuel the disconnect unless we understand them. And it's when we understand what our partner's attachment style is and accept it that change can come, that we can work on it together, that we get a better understanding of what each other's needs are, and we can compromise. Have a look at attachmentproject.com. attachmentproject.com. And I think that's a reasonably new outfit and gives a good idea of attachment style. Okay. What can cause disconnections? Differences between how we live our lives. Attachment styles can do that. So do personality profiles. And that's what we're going on to look at now. And I want to bring in here something called Myers-Briggs personality profiling. Carl Jung was a psychologist back in the last century, and worked a lot with Freud. And Carl Jung developed, you may have heard of him, he developed different personality types. He saw different personality styles in people. And his work wasn't fully developed into personality profiling, but Myers and Briggs picked, and that's a mother and a daughter, they picked up I think in the 1950s, they picked up Carl Jung's work and they developed it into a personality profiling tool. And it's about how we are wired. It's about understanding how God has created us in our uniqueness. It's a tool for doing that. Not that we can fully understand God, but it gives us a bit of a handle on an aspect of us that can be really important in how we relate well to other people. We are we not, fearfully and wonderfully made? But we're all made a little bit differently from one another, and we cannot expect the same from each other. And that's the same in a marriage. We cannot expect the other to meet our wants, but we can expect to negotiate and to understand our needs. And I think this tool, personality profiling, really can help. So this is the second area in which understanding disconnection can come from, and understanding difference in preferences. And that's what Myers-Briggs is all about. It's all about preferences. Again, there is another website. I'm going to give it to you now because it's a website that you can, I think it's free, and you go through a series of questions where you don't overthink, but you just answer a whole series of questions and give your responses, and you will come out with a personality profile. The website, Shade, for your reference, is 16personalities.com. The 16 is 16, the numbers 1 and 6, so 16personalities.com. And you will come out with 4 letters. And you can see these 4 sections here. You will either come out with an E or an I, an S or an N, a T or an F, and a J or a P. And we're going to go through all of those right now. The first one, let me just go back to that previous slide. The first one we're looking at is this top one, extroversion or introversion. And that's about where we like to focus our attention, or more so, where we get our energy from. And again, just think about this in the context of difference between you and your partner, okay? An extrovert, if you come out, and you will come out as either an extrovert or an introvert, an extrovert prefers to talk their problems out. They're very aware of their external environment. They learn best by doing or talking. They're out there. They have a breadth of interest. They tend to act and speak first and think later. They work out what they think by talking, and my wife is very much an extrovert. They seek interaction with others, and they enjoy group conversation. An introvert, on the other hand, prefers just to withdraw, to think things through more so. They are quite aware of their inner world. They learn best by reflecting. They have depth of interest rather than breadth. They tend to think first, then speak. Think to themselves, like being alone, and they enjoy one-to-one conversation rather than group conversations. The extrovert will like to talk things out. Yeah, we're talking about groups here. So how are you in groups? An extrovert will like in a group to talk things out. They need airtime, to discuss with others. They work out what they think by talking. We said that before. They don't mind several people talking all at once. They get into action quickly if given a task. Try or talk it out, reflect later before they go on to further action. So they're very out there, aren't they, in a group? And they would say that if you don't know what I'm thinking, then you weren't listening. In other words, I've spoken it out. So if you don't know what I was talking about, it's because you weren't listening to me. An introvert, on the other hand, was in a group, would prefer to think things through before speaking, sometimes in groups, sometimes in a marriage. You'll have an extrovert, you'll have an introvert. I prefer to think things through before I speak. I need time to reflect before and during a meeting before I express my view. I prefer it if people take turns to speak. Let's think things through before getting into action and think about the consequences first. Does that resonate with you? And for an introvert, if you don't know what I'm thinking, you didn't ask me. Very different from the extrovert. Now, I think that's quite important when it comes to marriage, to recognize that you may have difference in that regard. And can you see how a disconnection can happen when one wants to talk things out and the other can't because, or doesn't, because their preference is to process internally first, to reflect on it. Again, we're in this area of understanding difference and then accepting difference. And that's where change will come, where there's compromise. Okay, I need to talk this out, but I recognize you won't want to. So maybe if I talk it out, would you listen? And then when you're ready to talk about it, then we can come together. Yeah. How do you recharge? Now, this too can be quite a conflict within a marriage and can cause disconnection. Extroverts tend to recharge by interacting with the environment around them. It might involve chatting to friends, being with other people, being with family at the end of the day, maybe doing out of work activities with other people, but it involves other people. And so we would say that they need the sunshine. I don't know what on earth that picture is of. It's some kind of robotic machine. It looks like a dustbin to me. Anyway, if you can imagine that as being an extrovert who needs the sunshine, needs the warmth, needs the contact from other people in order to be re-energized. An introvert, on the other hand, needs to recharge by having some time for reflection, maybe mulling things over on the journey on the way home. Love the train journey. I used to have a 2-hour train journey to and from my work in London. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Mental. And that was a time for me to reflect. Now, I'm an extrovert. I like to engage with people, but I also like to have some time to reflect as well. My preference is to extrovert, but I do as well enjoy some time to myself. So recharging might involve relaxing at home, listening to music, being on your own in a room, reading a book. So we would say that this machine, that we would plug in to being on our own. And we're charged not from the sunshine of other people, but our own company. Our batteries are recharged that way. I hope that's making some kind of sense. If it's not, then I'm sure that will come in at the questions at the end. We're probably about half an hour away from question time, and I'm going to forge on with this because there's a lot of material to go through, if that's okay, Shadi. So we've looked at extroversion and introversion, where we get our energy from. We're now going to look at sensing and intuition. This part of the Myers-Briggs profiling is all about how we prefer to acquire information. So what information do you pay attention to? As a sensor, You would focus on what's real and practical. You like practical application, concrete things. You notice the detail to information. You like specifics. You want information to be accurate. You enjoy research. You like data. You trust your experience. You don't mind routine. An intuitor will focus on the big picture possibilities, value imaginative insights, likes the abstract, the theoretical, sees patterns and meanings in facts, but is enjoys imagining the future, is stimulated by ambiguity, by different possibilities, and trusts inspiration and often dislikes routine. So let's move on. What do you focus on when you're solving problems or following instruction? An S will typically prefer to focus on the current reality, seek out the facts, draw on knowledge of what's worked before. Can you see it's very instructional based? The intuitor will be less concerned about things, how things actually are, more about how they could be in the future, prefer to come up with new and innovative ideas, prefer to improvise. So that's the S and the N, sensing or intuition. Thinking or feeling is about how you prefer to make decisions. And again, a thinker would be guided by logic. They're using the head. This is about head and gut, or head and heart, however, wherever you want to put feelings. The thinker is, when it comes to making decisions, is guided by logic. Let's think through the process and the outcome. And they're always searching for truth. The feeler, however, will be guided by what the thinker might call more airy-fairy stuff, which doesn't have anything concrete to it. So the feeler will look for common ground, shared values, talking about convictions. You see, it's less concrete, it's not data-driven, it's not logic. They prefer to focus on future possibilities and often looking for harmony in reaching a decision. And again, can you understand in that why disconnect might happen? An example of thinker, feeler. Couple decide they want to go on holiday. Okay, let me try and work this example out. Couple decide they want to go on holiday. The thinker will start to look at the possibilities against some criteria. Okay, shall we go somewhere hot? No, we won't go somewhere hot because my wife, let's say the thinker is the man, feeler is the woman. Now let's do it the other way around, because that's stereotypical, thinking man, feeling wife. Let's do it the other way around. So the thinking wife is thinking about his needs and thinking he doesn't do well in the sun. He doesn't like anything over 20 degrees. So that rules out that country, rules out the south coast of the UK. It would definitely not rule out Scotland because that's perishing. So maybe Scotland's a possibility. We're going to go in September. Yeah, September's the date, but actually September is when there are loads of midges. I don't know if you've heard of those, but midges are horrible little bitey flies on the west coast of Scotland. So let's not go there. Do you see the thinking that's going on? But he just feels, oh, Scotland, beautiful. It's a lovely part of the world. Let's just go there. And I don't know how we'll do it. Maybe we'll have a camper van, maybe we'll go to a hotel or B&B or whatever. But it feels like the right thing to do. Let's do it. So big difference. You see the big difference in how to reach decisions.